Hi, it's Liz, and today I want to talk about suicidal impulses and intrusive thoughts. Now, this discussion, as you can probably gather, is going to involve some detailed descriptions of thoughts and feelings that one might have, that I've had with respect to self harm and suicide. So if you're not in a space to hear that for whatever reason, please don't watch this video. Um, so hi, hey, uh, as you might know, if you're one of the maybe two or three people who like watches all my videos, um, you might know that I am a dealing with some hormonal issues lately that um, make me depressed and anxious. And also, as you might have caught in my now deleted video, I'm going through a kind of big emotional upheaval. Um, I'm feeling really heartbroken. So it occurred to me um, to do a video about this because this is something that's been coming up. And for a lot of bipolar people, especially people who are bipolar 2, suicide is the big risk. It's very common for people who are bipolar. And if you tend to be more depressed than manic, suicide is going to be what you're most worried about. That hasn't been the case for me most of my life, but I've gone through some serious depressions though, where I definitely was harming myself. I did have a suicide attempt when I was a teenager, and just since my daughter was born, I've had quite a few hormonal imbalance issues that have brought me to a deeply depressed place very quickly, which is not normal for me. So I've just been thinking about it, and I realized it seems like there are some misconceptions about what these kinds of thoughts are like, and why people have these thoughts. The big misconception, I guess, that I notice is that people tend to think that people commit suicide because they can't stand the pain anymore. That's the way people often phrase it. And that's not my experience at all. And I think that that's maybe not the norm. I think that probably happens sometimes, but I don't think that really describes people who are depressed and dealing with suicidal impulses. I think there are situations where people feel like death is the only way out of their pain, for sure. But I think those are more situational, right? When I'm depressed and I start having suicidal thoughts, it tends to start creeping in more as I feel myself detach from myself and my body and my life. It's not so much that I'm in so much pain that I want to kill myself. It's kind of more like I start feeling like maybe that would be the best option, or it just feels like a good idea. It feels like everything's wrong somehow. I remember when I was a teenager, the feeling that I got, the metaphor I used is that I felt like I was in an ice cave. Like everything and everyone was far away. And I was in this cold place, this cold kind of translucent place where I could see everything and I could see everyone, but I couldn't really emotionally access it. So it's not exactly pain, right? Often it's more numbness than pain, although there might be some pain. I've been feeling pain lately, emotional pain. But the suicidal thoughts or impulses I get connected with that are not, yeah, it's not like the pain is so bad that I just want to weigh out exactly. It's more like just an irrational impulse that pops up when I'm having these thoughts about what I've lost or how I failed. The feeling of everything being wrong or everything being ruined. It's not so much like, yeah, it's not about an amount of pain. I've been in more pain. It's kind of more the feeling that there's no point in continuing, if that makes sense. I don't like in my rational mind think that that's true. Like I realize that doesn't make sense. And that those appraisals of the situation I'm in are not realistic. But it's a feeling, right? And when it comes to, my hormonal changes, it's beyond even that. It's not even that rational. It's just almost being entranced, like hypnotized by these thoughts that keep these intrusive thoughts that keep popping into my head more and more and more as I have the sensation of being farther and farther away, farther and farther disconnected and detached from my own life and the people I love and my own self. There's a point too to just the repetition of the thoughts, because sometimes I have these thoughts when I'm actually feeling fine, and I think that's fairly normal to, have some intrusive thoughts about self-harm or about violence in general, about suicide. I have those every once in a while, it's as long as I can remember, since I was a kid. But when they're accompanied by that sense of emptiness, and when they start coming more and more and more and more frequently, it's sort of like the way that if somebody repeats something enough, if you repeat a mantra to yourself, or if you hear something repeated to you enough, it starts to feel true. And it's more like that. You kind of get hypnotized. You get pulled under by these thoughts, these relentless thoughts. So it's not so much like trying to think about it in terms of, the pain was too much is that's a very rational kind of way to think about suicide or self-harm. Like, the pain is too much, I just want to get out, so I just want it to end, so I'll die. That's a very, rational thought process, really. I'm not saying it's good. You know, I don't believe that that is even really true. I don't believe that death is a way out of pain. Um, Even if you do, you know, killing yourself can harm the people around you. Although that's the thing too, right? People say it's selfish, and I feel like, again, framing it as selfish is assuming that the person is doing it for themselves, doing it to avoid pain. But when I really get to a scary place where I think maybe I'll really do it, at that point, I really truly am starting to believe that everyone would be better off without me, like that kind of thing, right? And it's a self-reinforcing thing as you get more and more depressed, because if you get more and more depressed, you become sort of less able to perform in your relationships, right? You're not as there for people. And so then you see this, and you see that you're not doing as well as you could, or you feel like you should, or as you want to. And so you say, well, they deserve someone better. They deserve someone else. They'd be better off if I died and they could find someone better. That's really the way you start thinking about it. So in your mind, even though this is not true, you start thinking, I'm doing this for my family, you know, I'm doing this for the people I love. So I just am saying this, um, I mean, it's painful. I'm not saying this as a cry for help. I don't, I am not at a place where I'm feeling like I'm in danger. But I'm saying this because I just want people to understand that it's a really, it's a really deep, it's a really deep delusion that envelops you, that leads you to that place. It's nothing so simple as depression is painful, I want a way out. It's nothing so selfish as that. You know, I think the kind of people who do actually kill themselves as a way out are people who are like, you know, in a situation where they're about to face painful consequences for something, right? Something like that. That makes sense, right? They want to avoid being tortured or something, so they kill themselves. Like that. But I think when people are mentally ill, it's just not, doesn't make sense to reduce it to that. And I hope that with that insight, you can have a little bit more empathy for where someone might be at if they express feelings of being suicidal when that's coming from depression. There are other mental health reasons why people might be suicidal too. I didn't get into that. I'm not touching that. I'm just talking about my own experience. So, yeah, I hope this is helpful. I'll talk to you later.